Welcome to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network with your hostess, Jen Josey. Join like-minded real estate investors and accelerate your business towards greatness. You will hear step-by-step strategies for success, interviews with real estate rock stars, and we will dig deep into past projects where we bear it all, including the good, the bad, and some just plain ugly. So get excited. Here's the bestower of badassery herself, the real Jen Josey. Listener discretion is advised.
That's wonderful.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Jen Josey, creator of RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Whoop, whoop. On today's episode, we have a guest that will be sharing their badassery. But before we begin, here's today's badassery bestowment, my little badass gift to you. Today's topic is working with wholesalers. If you're not tapping into this network, you are missing out on deals that might never hit the open market. Here are 5 reasons why building relationships with wholesalers can seriously level up your investing game. Number 1, access to off-market deals. Wholesalers specialize in finding properties before they're listed. That means there's less competition and more opportunities for you to score a great deal. Number 2, save time and energy. That's my favorite. Let wholesalers do the heavy lifting when it comes to sourcing deals. You can focus on analyzing and closing, not chasing down every possible property. Number 3, expand your deal pipeline. The more wholesalers you know, the more deals you'll see. It's like having a team of bird dogs bringing you opportunities around the clock. Number 4, flexible negotiation. Wholesalers are often open to creative terms, giving you more options to structure a win-win deal. And number 5, one that most people forget, market insights. Wholesalers are hustlers. They know what's moving in your area and can tip you off to trends, hot neighborhoods, and upcoming opportunities. So, RAIN Nation, remember, don't go at it alone. Team up with wholesalers, build those relationships, and watch your deal flow and your badassery grow. Now, on to today's episode of the Real Estate Investor Growth Network podcast. Today's guest is Wayne Seminoff. After earning his MBA, Wayne set out on a traditional job hunt only to stumble into his very first real estate opportunity, sparking a career of wild stories and creative deals. Starting with 0 real estate experience, Wayne has spent the last 50 years mastering the art of buying overlooked, underdeveloped land in the heart of high-rent areas and turning small investments into returns of 100 to 400 times his original outlay. Sometimes he builds, but often his genius is in making the crazy or ignored lots buildable and profitable. He's passionate about teaching others how to spot these hidden gems, even with as little as $1,000. With 50 training videos and 2 books under his belt, Wayne is on a mission to pass his knowledge on to the next generation of investors. It's my pleasure to have him on the show, so welcome Wayne Seminoff.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi, everybody.
Good to see you, sir. Welcome. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Glad to
Wonderful.
be here.
Well, give us a little 50 years. Come on now. Give us a little background and please include this story of how you found this first real estate opportunity.
All right. Well, I'll start off with this is my lead line. Okay, I bought a lot for $1,000 and I just listed it for $1.2 million. And I've owned it for about 8 months. Okay, and let me tell you how that happened. Okay, what I do is I look for lots that are off the market and I try and buy from don't wanters, people who don't want their property. If you go in the front door, you buy listed property, whatever, you're always paying market price, not wholesale. So I only pay wholesale. So what I did is I found this tax sale that took place about a year ago in King County. And I looked at the list and I saw a guy who lived in on the East Coast somewhere, and he owned a half-acre lot in downtown Issaquah, which is a real high rent district, right across the street from their main shopping center. I mean, it's an ideal location. It's a half acre with water, sewer, and power. And I said, there's no way he's going to let this go in the tax sale. But I call him. I said, well, I'm going to call him. So I call him and I said, what are you going to do? And he says, well, I'm going to let it go in the sale. And I said, how come? And he said, well, the title's all screwed up and we tried to sell it. We couldn't sell it. We tried to give it to the city of Issaquah. They wouldn't take it because the title was messed up. We're going to give it to them for free. Okay. And I said, well, hell, I'll buy it from you. And I said, will you take $500 for it? He goes, what do you think? I'm crazy or something? And I go, well, how much do you want? And he says, well, I have to give half to my sister, so make it 1,000. It's a deal. So I Venmoed him $1,000 within 10 minutes and emailed him a deed. He signed it and sent it back. And I own that thing by the end of the day. And that property, if it's buildable, is worth $500,000 because it's really a high rent district. And and I'm an expert. One of my things I teach is clearing title. That's one of the things that I teach in my program, the Junk Land into Gold program. And so I called my attorney. I said, clear the title. And I told him what to do. And in 3 months, he cleared the title. And it cost me $15,000 in attorney's fees because he's expensive.
Oof, okay.
You can get it done for less than that, but I pay it. This guy's good. So for $15,000 and $1,000, $16,000, I'm now in possession of a property I can put in the market for $500,000. Except I'm greedy. So I went to the city and I said, can I subdivide it because it's a half acre? And he goes, sure. So I just finished my subdivision. Now I have 2 lots, each worth $500,000. So I called my realtor and I said, list it for $1 million this week. And together, or, if they want to buy 2 lots or 500,000 a piece. So that's what I do. And that's what I teach is I teach people how to find, I call it nuggets. And every time a tax sale comes up, I look at that as like a gold pan full of gravel. And in every gold pan full of gravel, there's always a nugget, always. In every sale, there's always a nugget. And I've been doing this for forever. And so on this one, this was the golden nugget that was in the, I didn't do any other properties. I just did this one. Once I did this one, I said, I'm done. And I do that every year. I go to the annual tax sale and I buy properties.
Wow. And you mentioned King County. For the listeners who don't know where you are, tell us where that is.
Okay. King County is the county where Seattle, Washington is, and where Bill Gates lives and all those guys,
Nice.
And I live in Kirkland, which is right next to Bellevue, which is a real, that's where the heavy hitters live.
Gotcha, including you. Well, I want to hear your background. I want to hear how this all started. What was this one property that because you had just gotten your MBA and you started doing your regular job hunt. So how did you kind of fall into doing real estate?
Yeah, it's a real goofy thing. I got an MBA from Georgia State University. I looked for a job in Atlanta and I couldn't find any. So me and my wife, we came to Seattle where she's from. And we were planning on moving to Hawaii. And we stopped in Seattle, and I fell in love with Seattle. I just love the weather. And I went to the UW job board at the University of Washington. They have those little cards, little teeny cards on the boards, And I saw this card. It says, need real estate consultant for a real estate company. It's all handwritten and stuff. And it offered a really good salary. And then I said, what the hell, I'll try anything. So I called it. And it happens to be this guy was the president of a giant real estate company in Seattle, but it was owned by ITT, and they were in New York City, and that's where his office was. And he answered the phone. He says, "Well, you're the only guy they answered the ad. You're hired." His first line to me, and he says, "Well, how much do you want?" And I said, "I doubled what was on the card, so it was equivalent to in those days like 10 grand a month, and this was like years ago." And he said, "You're hired." He says, "But you'll have to work by yourself because I'm in New York and you'll be my bird dog. And basically, I want you to determine the sales value of the whole company. I want to sell the whole company."
Oh my goodness.
And so he says, "Go do that." And I said, "Okay." And so from that point forward, I started studying real estate. I took classes and I really studied. I'm a real good researcher. So I really learned everything about real estate. and I became very knowledgeable. And I was able to. It took me about a year to do the job because it was very complex. And I gave him his price, and then when it was all done, he said goodbye, and that was it. And then I knew real estate, but I didn't know what to do with it. And so, so I went to I was looking for auctions, and just for the hell of it, I was looking at auctions in the newspaper, and I saw a real estate auction, and I went to one, and I met this guy. His name was Bill Looney, who was the guru of real estate auctions and the king of. He owned more properties in the state of Washington, second to the federal government.
Oh my
He owned like
goodness.
thousand properties, And I knew how hard it was to manage properties. So I went up to him and I said, look, you have 1,000 properties. There's no way in hell you can manage those. And I said, I'll make you a deal. I said, I will take those and put them on the market, fix all the problems and sell them. And you give me half of whatever we make. And he goes, that's a deal. I'll do it. So
Wow.
at that point, I owned half of 1,000 properties.
Oh my gosh.
If I could sell them, only if I could fix them and sell them.
Gotcha.
And then I proceeded I sold hundreds of them. And they were all really bad properties. They weren't, there's nothing easy. They're just, but I found all the tricks during that time period. There's like 7 basic tricks to fix a piece of bad property. And once you learn them, you can fix them easy. Like you get if the land's too small, you get a variance to build on a small lot. Or if the lot lines are screwed up, you can move the lot lines. There's all kinds of things you can do to fix bad property. And I kind of look at it as like they're arrows in a quiver, and there's like 7 arrows. And when I go through the list of properties for sale, I bring the properties up on my computer and I look at them and I say, do any of these 7 fit this lot? And number 1 is don't want her. Number 1 is always you don't want her.
You don't
and then
want
if anything
her?
fits, don't want
Gotcha.
her. Don't want her.
I thought you were saying wander, like wander through the woods.
Yeah. No, it's really critical that you buy from people who don't want their properties.
Gotcha.
There's 2 kinds of sellers. Sellers who want $1 million for a $1,000 property, and the don't wanters who just don't even want the property and they don't care what they get. So your job is to find the guy who does not want his property. And those are like, my best target is people live out of state.
Yep.
Like if a guy lives 1,000 miles from his property, he may not care about it. If he's 90 years old, he's going to die soon. He either wants to sell it or he doesn't care about it. But my best one is kids who inherit property are the best person to buy from because they're so screwed up emotionally. They hate their kids, they hate their parents, and they hate anything associated with their parents. So anything they inherit from their parents, they just want to get rid of. It has a bad taste to it. And those people, I offer $1,000 or $500, or I bought a bunch of houses I paid $45,000 for a house. I bought 10 of them from kids who inherited the houses from their parents. And here houses the cheapest house goes for 600,000. And
wow.
And then if you go see the houses, they destroy the houses. Almost all the houses I bought were just trashed. Just trash.
Gotcha.
I bought one. It looked really good on a map and everything, and I bought it. And I didn't see it before I bought it. I went to open the front door, and there was sunshine in the living room. I look up, the whole roof was gone. It had no roof. There was no roof. It was just a big giant hole about 20 feet around.
Well, I'm glad you brought up about parents leaving real estate to their kids, because I just had I run a mastermind called Rain Mastermind, and we had a guest speaker, a dear friend of mine, John Blackburn, and he brought up the fact that it's only 20% of it's only 20% of kids who want to actually continue with the legacy that is left with them. And a lot of times, they see their parents stressing out because they're over there plunging toilets and they're dealing with problem tenants. They don't want to deal with any of that. So I'm glad you brought that up. And maybe even investors now that are thinking, I'm doing this as a legacy, sell it to people now, get more bang for your buck is where I was going with that. But I want to get into these kind of overlooked places. And you talk about, the don't wanters and finding them. Do you just use like your county GIS system, your geographical information system? How do you find those? Do you look? I mean, I've searched for probates before. I've gone through the file folders at the courthouse and done that in person. And are you buying leads? Where are you finding these that people don't want these properties?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's really, really easy.
Oh my goodness.
It's stupid simple. I call it stupid simple. It's so easy. Okay. All you do is you call up the county you live in and you say, send me a copy of the tax foreclosure sale for this coming year. And they send it to you. Or they'll either send it to you or it's online. And there it is. That's your treasure trove.
Tax foreclosure list.
Yeah, tax foreclosure list.
Okay.
Yeah, not tax title. Tax title is different.
Okay.
The tax foreclosure list. It's property tax foreclosure list. And it'll have, like 100 to 1,000 properties on it. And that's your pan of gold, of gravel that has the nugget in it. Yeah, that's and once you have that, then you just start sorting through it. And you use, if they go to my site, junklandinthegold.com, and it tells you all what the 7 or 8 arrows are that you have in your quiver, and see if anyone matches a particular piece. And if it does, that's the one you go after. And you always try and buy before the sale. And you always, because that's where you get the wholesale price.
So when you say, pause for a second, when you say before the sale, do you mean like before the auction, when it goes into?
Before the auction.
Okay,
yeah, before the auction. Right. Yeah. And the auction's usually late in the year. And that's the easiest way to get it. The second easiest is you just go to your local mapping that maps all the lots in your area that you talked about. And they have a really good one in Washington called IMAP, IMAP.
Yep. We have that here in Raleigh as well, yes.
Oh, yeah, that is the best site ever. And you just go through it and you look at goofy looking lots. Like you see a whole residential development and you'll see 2 lots that are triangular, that are all in the corner. And you go, then you investigate them. And you look at them and you see what's wrong with them. And then if they look good, if they look like it's owned by some guy who's 90 years old who lives in New York City, then you go, then you really dig into it. And you can even call the city at that point and say, how do I make it buildable, or is it buildable? And they'll usually tell you, it needs variance, it needs a lot line adjustment, it needs something, whatever. And once you have that, then you call the guy and you say, will you buy it? And they always offer them a crazy low amount. I start out at 500, and believe it or not, I bought, so many properties for so little like that, between $1,000 and $2,000, and sold those properties for $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 once I fixed the one problem that it had. Or some have 5 problems. You fix all 5,
Well, let's talk about some of those problems, because you have the landlocked lots, for example. I have a dear friend in the back of my neighborhood, and between his house and the railroad tracks back there, there were 2 lots, and he ended up buying them. You can't get to them. They are landlocked. You obviously can't go over the railroad where it is there, but he's like, I just don't want anyone to go back there, and I just want to have control over it. So there's that, right. But then there's utility issues, there's zoning challenges. The one for me is I want to get about 10 to 15 acres. I do want a little type of pond, something in the middle of it, and then do the A-frame cabins around it somewhere, but it's the whole utility issue, and does the ground percolate and things like that. So what are some of these typical problems that you run into, and then how do you kind of solve them, and as you were saying, and turn them around and then flip them and then sell them for 400, 100 to 400 times what you paid for them.
Yeah, right. Well, we'll pick one. Let's start out with it doesn't perk. So for people who don't understand this, you either have sewer or you have to get a septic system. If you're close to downtown, you're on sewer, and then it's taken care of. If you're out in the boonies or on the edge, then you have to on-site septic systems, and the property has to have enough percolatable dirt, means dirt that'll allow the water to go through it easily. And if it doesn't have it, then it doesn't perk, and you can't build on it.
Right.
Okay. I know a way to make anything perk.
Talk to me, Wayne. Come on, what you got? Wait. The sound went out. Say it again.
Oh, even if it's underwater, even if the property is underwater or a wetland, you can perk it. And this is how you do it. It's so simple. It's really simple, but a lot of people don't know this. All you do is you go to your neighbor who has perkable land, and you go up to him and say, I'll give you $10,000 for an easement if you let me put my drain field on your lot. And then you get an easement from him for 10 grand. And now your lot that you bought for $1,000 is now worth whatever his lot's worth, which is 100,000 to 400,000. So for $10,000, you're going to make 500,000. You know.
Wow. Anything else? I mean, because
well, let me tell you. Okay, I did one like that, and none of the neighbors would play ball with me.
Okay.
So I finally found a neighbor a half a mile away, and I got him to agree, and I got the county to agree. Let me run the line all the way down the road, half a mile, and put it on this guy's lot.
Oh my goodness. And then I heard of like above the ground something that people
no. Yeah, those they have things that help you perk, but they only work if you have the minimum amount of dirt on the site.
Gotcha.
You can't use the above ground one unless you have, like, I think it's 18 inches or some ridiculous number.
Oh, wow.
But anyways, you can make any property perk that way. Any property.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it's simple. Yeah.
And then what are some other utility
and also
issues?
before we go into that,
okay.
You talked about the guy that landlocked. Okay, landlocked use the same solution. You go to the neighbor and you ask for an easement of access, and you say, I'll give you $10,000 for an easement if you
and explain what an easement is.
Okay, an easement is allowing you to go over someone else's property to gain access to your property, whether it's landlocked or anything. You just maybe want to it's an easement. An easement is the owner of the property gives you the right to use their property for access or utilities. For example, if the sewer line is right behind this guy's house, and the next sewer line is a mile away, which will cost you $1 million to connect to, you go to the guy next to you and you say, well, I'll give you $10,000 if you let me connect to the sewer line from your house, and you just give me an easement to go through your property.
Gotcha. Well, this one, honestly, there is no way to get to this property because of the way the houses are built. They're almost zero lot lines. And the only other way to approach it would be through going over the railroad, which just wouldn't make sense. But,
there is a way.
Oh, my
goodness.
You
can go underground. You can go underground. You can make a tunnel.
Wow.
You can go underground.
Interesting. All right. Yeah. I mean, this is
a
neighborhood.
It's expensive. It's expensive, but you can do it. I mean, it depends what you want to do. Yeah.
All right. So now what about utilities and, or if you want to jump into zoning challenges here, because we're constantly like rezoning in our area, so.
Yeah. Well, first I'd like to say one global thing, just for the global thing, is that what I teach people is an ideal side gig for somebody who's working at a regular job and they have a cash flow income, and because you don't get paid on these things right away. So how I suggest people doing it is they work on this as a side gig. They find these properties and then they buy one or two and they start working on them. And as time goes on, then they sell them. And this way you have your regular job feeding you. But then once you sell one of these, if you get enough big hits, you can quit your job. And then at that point, you just do this all the time. You know, if you can get 500,000 that you can actually put in the bank, you know, that might be enough for you to quit your job and just stay in the business and use that money to buy more properties. You could buy, you know, like what I try and buy 10 properties at a time. And then out of the 10, let's say maybe 2 or 3 really work out, and 6 or so turn out I can't do anything with them. And that's okay, because those 3 that work out pay so much
Right.
that you can just throw the others in the garbage. It doesn't matter. But I don't do that. What I do is I let the old ones that don't work go back in the tax sale. And a lot of people don't know this, but I get all the money that's bid in the tax sale over the back taxes. So I actually let a property go back in this last sale. I paid $75,000 for it, but it turns out it had this hidden thing that where you can't build on it. And I let it go back in the sale. It sold for $150,000 because it looked beautiful. So I made $75,000 profit by letting it go back in the tax sale. This is a loser property. Even on my loser properties, I make money.
Wow. Very interesting. So
nobody knows that. It's a secret.
Yeah. I've had how many podcasts here? So you are my 283rd. I've never heard anything like that. So I love that you get money back from those things. So do you have a favorite story where you took one of these crazy lots and you turned it into a winner?
Well, I've got the first one I told you, that Issaquah one, but I live in Kirkland, which is a really high rent neighborhood. And at one tax sale, they had a little goofy triangular lot next to Costco, which is right close to where I live. And I bought it. I paid $1,250 for it.
Wait, hold on. Is this why it's Kirkland Products at Costco? Is it named after?
Right.
Seriously?
Yeah. You know, the Kirkland toilet paper and then the paper products and stuff. That's my city, Kirkland, and it's the home of Costco.
Those are the best paper towels, by the way. I love me some Kirkland paper towels.
They are. Everything they make is perfect. Yeah, I know.
All right, so this little triangular lot near Costco.
Yeah, I bought this little triangular one, and I tried to get a house to fit on it, and it was just so small I couldn't quite make it. And then I had it surveyed, and it turns out it was on a cul-de-sac. There's a cul-de-sac. And it turns out that the city inadvertently had paved over onto my property about 10 feet without an easement, without having an easement from the owner. Okay, so I went to the city. I said, take your 10 feet off my property. I mean, take your road off my property, your 10-foot road. And they took it off, and that made it wide enough to build on. And then rather than sell it, which at that point I could have sold it for, this is several years ago, I probably could have sold it for $200,000. I decided to build a 5-unit boarding house on it. So I built a 3-story, 3,000 square foot, 5-unit boarding house on it. And now the land underneath it today is worth $600,000. But it's got a building on it. And that turned out to be real good too, because if you build a boarding house instead of a rental house, you get twice the rental income for the same building. See, this house would rent for $2,500 a month.
You mean renting the rooms is what you mean?
Yeah, you rent out. Well, it's designed as a boarding house. Okay. So I put 3 executive suites on the top and 2 executive suites on the bottom with giant walk-in closets and beautiful showers and all that stuff. And the middle floor is all common area with 2 refrigerators, 2 stoves, separate locking cabinets for everybody. It's set up for that. 6 bathrooms. There's 6 bathrooms in it.
Oh my goodness, that is
so cool. I could rent it to a pianist. It's got 6 bathrooms.
Oh my goodness, you crack me up. So I'm curious. Where was my question going? I had a great question for you. You threw me off there with the weird. Oh, so I'm curious. You talked it's a longer gameplay. So what is it like from start to finish of finding a property, buying it? How long does it take to fix it up, resell it? Like what's an average time? I know this is a very loaded question here, but
that's a good question.
What does it kind of look like? What's the time frame for you to actually make money on it? Are you paying like interest payments or explain all that?
All right. Sure. Okay. Well, you're paying cash, so there's no interest payments.
Okay.
But it's up. It depends how greedy you are. If you're really greedy, it takes longer. If you're not greedy, you can sell it in 30 days. And I bought a lot for $1,000 right across from a lake. And the guy sold it to me because he couldn't connect to the sewer manhole, which is right in front of the property, 15 feet away. And that's because the sewer authority decided it wasn't in their jurisdiction. It's only 15 feet away.
Oh my gosh.
So I bought it from this guy for $1,000, and I called the sewer guys and I said, "Can I connect?" And they said no. And I said, "Let me talk to your boss." And he said no. I said, "No, let me talk to your boss." So I went to you have to find the decision makers, the guy who's really the decision maker. I got a hold of him. I said, "Look, I can connect to the sewer, but it's uphill and it cost me $400,000 to go to this other manhole because you have to run it, like a mile or something." And I said, "And your sewer manhole is 15 feet in front of mine." I said, "Can you make an exception?" He goes, "Well, okay, I will. You can connect." So I put it on the market. I sold it for $60,000 in 30 days. So I made 60 times my money.
Did you connect it yourself, or did you just let the people know?
No. You don't have to do anything. See, once you do these, you don't have to do anything. You just put it on the market and sell it. They do the work. You don't have to do anything. That's the beauty of it. So the fastest you can sell it is about 30 days.
Wow.
Okay. Now, if I was greedy, then I'd go, okay, now I want to apply for a building permit. And then I'd go and I'd get a building permit for it. And then I'd sell it with the building permit, and I could probably sell it for $200,000 or $300,000 with the building permit. Okay. Nice. And then if I'm really, really greedy, I build it out and I build the house, and then I sell it and maybe make like $700,000-800,000. So it just depends how greedy you are.
Gotcha.
And the quick kill is really good. I do like the quick kill. I'd rather take a quick kill and get the money right away, generally. Except I had a couple lots in Bellevue, downtown Bellevue, where the lots there sell for $1 million a piece. And there's another story about a good friend of mine. She inherited these two lots from her dad, who was my partner in the auctions in the old days, 20 years ago. And he knew that they had value, but she didn't. And she came to me, says, "I don't want to do this. I hate all my stuff that my dad gave me. And just give me any price and I'll sell them to you." So I said, "Okay, I'll give you $2,000 a piece." So I bought them for $2,000. And then we had to do a whole bunch of complicated stuff with the city of Bellevue. And it cost us probably about $50,000 for the studies. And we had to get a variance. The lots were too small to build on, so we got variances. We got height variances, so we could build big houses. Yep. So we got 2 variances to build 2 5,000 square foot homes on it. And now we're putting the property on the market for $1 million a property.
Ooh, wow.
Okay.
That is amazing.
Because that's $1 million area.
What was start to finish time frame?
That one took a while. It probably took about a year of really working hard. It was a lot of work. Gotcha. It was a lot of work because you gotta, they have all these different things that the cities drive you crazy.
Yes.
So you have to be really patient and really diligent and never give up. And you just keep going. They keep asking you for more stuff, and whatever they ask for, you give it to them. And every time they ask for something, it costs you money. You got to go to a surveyor, you got to go to an architect, you got to go to a draftsman, an engineer. You have to pay somebody to give you the answer, typically. So they nickel and dime you, and so you have to be ready for that. Yeah.
Well, I want to kind of dive a little bit more into making these city planners your partners and your friends. And I did one. We were going to buy these 6 mobile homes, but they were on a 1/4 acre each, and they were grandfathered in these mobile homes. The neighborhood they were getting these nice newer homes around it, and this was just kind of an eyesore. So we had to go in and change variances and do all this, and we had to go in from the board. We ended up not buying the properties due to other circumstances, but it can be very intimidating. So what are your kind of steps in, really making connections with them and basically making them your friends? Because for the people who are just listening right now are like, I don't want to go, because we had to stand in front of a city meeting. And it was so funny because we had our puppy with us because we were going to puppy training right after we're walking into this. And there's only like 6 people there. It was so different from what I expected. So even though it sounds intimidating, it really doesn't have to be. So I was blabbing there. But Wayne, tell us what it's like working with the city planners and the best way to approach those relationships.
Yeah, that's how I learned how to do most of my stuff. Okay, what I did is I bought a lot, and I went, I can't see where it's buildable. So I go to the city, and what you do is you find somebody who's willing to talk to you and help you. Most of the guys, they're not very friendly. So you find the one that is friendly. Like you talk to them, they say, yeah, hello, goodbye, get lost. Can I talk to somebody else? I have another question.
I laugh because that's so true. So excellent advice. Keep going.
So you find a guy who will actually stop and look you in the eye and listen to. You have to talk to a human being. You can't do it online and all this stuff. You can, but it's not as easy, not good. And then and you say, hey, look, I got this lot, and I'm really frustrated because I don't know what to do with it. And you make a friend, with this guy, and you say, is there any way I can do this? And they say, well, there is this hidden little rule that nobody knows about that you can do it this way. And I said, well, would you help me do that? And what's ideal is if you can say, if you can help me do that, and if we have to go to the city council for anything, could you present it to the city council for me?
Love
and
that.
then I go and I just appear and say, you don't have to do anything. You just say, hi, I'm the guy, and there's a proposal in front of you, vote yes, So, and I've done that before, and that works really well. And what really has helped me is I go to the head guy. I go to who's the head city planner guy, and I just make a friend with him. And I just kind of get in the habit of calling him, like here in Kirkland, and I call him and I ask him really goofy questions on really crazy shit that I want to try. And he laughs at me because it's so crazy, but he knows me, and I create a relationship. And this really helped me on a lot I bought. I bought a 1 acre lot about a mile from my house, again in a really high rent area. This lot is worth $1 million. Okay, but it's encumbered with an easement, a native growth protection easement, which means you can't walk on it, you can't touch it, you can't look at it, you can't breathe on it, you can't do anything. You have to leave it alone. Okay, and which means you can't build on it, right?
Right.
So I call him up and say, I have an idea. I want to build on this lot. And he goes, well, you can't build on it. I say, well, how about if I do this? I just did a survey, and I own the lot. I happen to own the adjacent lot. It's a little road, a little 30-foot road. I said, how about if I slide that whole easement down 30 feet? And then that opens up 30 feet at the top of the original property, which is flat and clean and dry. And then can I put a house there? He goes, well, it's a little goofy, but you can do it. So he said, yeah, you can do it. And by him saying, yeah, that made my property worth $1 million.
Whew.
Okay. So I put it on the market, and it's kind of backfired. I put it on the market for $1 million, and everybody started calling him and confirming whether or not it was, and he was doing me a favor. And he called me up and says, Wayne, it's a dead deal. You can't do it anymore. These guys are driving me. He says, they're driving me crazy, with inquiries. But in the interim, the neighbors, they didn't want anybody to build there. So they all got together and they made me an offer of $400,000 cash. And I sold it to them for $400,000. And all I paid for this lot was $2,000.
Oh my goodness.
This is fantastic. And that's the only thing I didn't spend in. All I did I did a survey, so that cost me $5,000. So for my, let's say, $8,000, I sold it for $400.
Wow.
Yeah, but anyways, that's making friends with the head guys is the way to win in your city, because I always like to work in my own city, because I'm lazy. I don't want to drive 45 minutes to see my property. I want to drive 10 minutes. And there's so many properties that are available. You don't have to drive an hour or 2 hours away to find something, out in Booneyland. I find stuff right in my backyard,
That's awesome.
you know. Yeah.
All right. So I have one final question here before we go to the second part of the podcast here, Wayne. And that is, you mentioned some pretty wealthy people in your area. Have you ever dealt with any of them directly? Maybe like a driveway. You mentioned some
Um,
driveway before we hit record. I want to
no,
hear this
no,
story.
no, that one, I sold that property to another guy for $40,000. And this was 40 years ago.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
$40,000 those days are worth 200 grand today, you know. So anyways, I sold it to another guy and he worked directly with Bill Gates negotiating a price for that piece. And he negotiated with him for 2 years.
And this,
And
but
he
explain
finally,
where this property was.
yeah, it was part of his driveway to his brand new home that he built in Bellevue, which is 4,000 square feet of home on a lot. And this is it's actually the edge of the driveway. You can actually drive in without it, but it's where the bank of the driveway.
Gotcha.
You know, and so they offer him, peanuts first, and so what this guy did is he starts putting signs up on the edge of his driveway of Bill Gates's enemies' names, saying to intimidate, to drive him crazy. So finally, they gave him $1 million for it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Wow. That is such a
yeah,
cool story. I am so
yeah.
glad we wrapped up this first part of the conversation with that. And we are going to move, Wayne, to the second part of the podcast, which is what makes Wayne Seminoff a badass. And I use the acronym BADASS. And the first letter is B for book. What is a book that's made a huge difference in your life?
Yeah, One Day in the Life of Ivan Ivanovich. I don't know if you know that book.
I
One Day
don't.
in the Life of Ivan Ivanovich. It's a standard college reading book, but the story is this this guy was in the Gulag in Russia, and it talks about his day, and it's a brutal day. I mean, like he's barely survived it, and at the very end, he says, "Well, all he had to look forward was then tomorrow it all starts all over again." He barely made it through the day, life or death struggles, and then he goes, "Well, it's all going to start all over again. You do it again," and it just really stuck with me that God, that'd be a tough life.
That would be a tough life. All
Yeah.
right. The first A in badass is for advice. You've given some great advice on finding properties today, but what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Well, there's one I give out that's really important it's called mistake your way to success or fail your way to success.
Yep.
I say mistake your way to success because I'm 82 and I make gobs of mistake. It takes me 20 minutes to write a one-line email. You know what I mean? My fingers don't do what my brain says. But I mistake my way to success. And every time you can do two things when you make a mistake. You say, I'm bad, I'm worthless, I can't succeed. Or you can say, what I say, I laugh at myself. I'm mistaking my way to success. I'm going to be really rich. And if I made 20 mistakes in a day, I said, I'm going to be really, really rich because I'm making so many mistakes. And I use that all the time. And I also look as when a city says, oh, you can't build on it after you've worked on it for 6 months, I call that a mistake. And so when the city says, no, we can't build on it, I laugh at it. And then I go back in again to the same city and say, well, where's the back door?
Right.
And then try that one. And if you mistake your way on that one, go find. What I do is I almost never give up. I mean, that's if you mistake your way to success and you never give up, you'll win.
Yep.
Because in real estate, it's really easy to get discouraged. You buy a piece of property and then the city says, oh, okay, we just changed the zoning code and you can't do anything with it. That's kind of like a punch. And then you got to go, well, it's like I'm mistaking my way to success. So now you look for another side door or back door and you go and you just be open to it. And it almost always there's a side door that works. Almost always, not always, but most of the time. And
I'd look for a mail slot if I could figure out a way to get out. So I love that advice. And I think it's also every mistake you make is also a lesson to teach you to become better. So I love that you said that. Thank you for sharing that one. All right.
Yeah.
The D in badass is for drive. What drives you to be successful?
I like solving puzzles. And some people play crosswords and do all the online games and shit.
I'm a Wordle girl. I love me some Wordle.
Okay. Well, I figure I like to solve things, but I like to get money when I solve them. So I could sit and play games all day long and have fun, but I wouldn't make any money. So I play games that make lots of money. And so if I win the game, I get a pot of gold.
I love it.
And so I only play games where there's big money at the end. And I love playing the game. And every morning I get up, I don't have to work now,
right.
But I come in, I like to work. And like there was just this tax sale yesterday and I worked the tax sale. I didn't have to, but I did it because I just love doing it. It's like a puzzle, figuring out what's the best lot and how to approach it. And, I talked to the cities and got advice about it and everything. I got all ready to buy it. And this is a good advice too. And I went. The opening bid was $4,000, and it's a buildable lot, but it's triangle. It's only 40 feet by 80 feet by 120, 2,000 square feet.
Okay.
Very small, but it was right on a golf course with water, sewer, and power. Okay, good lot. But you need to do a variance to build on it. And I went to bid on it, and they bid it up to $38,000 at the sale. And now, that's too much for me because I like to buy wholesale.
Yes.
But here's a thought. Anybody that in your audience could look up this lot, see who bought it, approach him, and if they read my program and they know the tricks, they could say, I'll make you a deal. If you'll make me a partner in the lot, I'll fix it up for you, get it all ready, get it buildable, and we'll sell it if you'll give me a percent of the deal. I always say half. If you give me half the deal, then this way you don't have to do anything and you'll get half of whatever I make for you. And you don't have to do anything. So this is a way that anybody in your audience could do that at any tax sale.
Without coming with money out of pocket.
Yeah, well, yeah, right. And this other guy, he would fund the like if you need a variance or something like that, he'd put the fee up for the variance and stuff. But you'd be basically trading your knowledge for half ownership of that property and actually helping the guy.
Give me just 1 second.
Yeah, go ahead. Well,
I feel like tears are coming down.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay.
Okay.
And so there's lots of different ways. Once you have this knowledge, you learn the 7 tricks. You can use it like that. Another thing you can do, like let's say you buy a piece of property for $1,000 or whatever, but it needs a survey, but you don't have the $5,000 for the survey.
Right.
You go to the surveyor and say, look, I just bought this lot. If it's buildable, it's worth $300,000 or $500,000. I'll give you 10% or 20% ownership in this lot if you'll do the survey for free. And then, when I sell the property, you'll get your piece. Or this is the other thing I tell them. I said, you want $5,000 for a survey. I'll give you $10,000 once I sell the property. You do the survey, and then maybe I need an engineer to do something for, I'll do the same deal with him. And I say, when I sell the property, you guys can get double what I owe you.
Wow. Love that.
So this way you can go forward with no money. Like you got $1,000, you got enough to buy the lot. And you'd buy it on the phone. So you don't go to the auction that drives prices up. So you buy it from the guy, and then you make a deal with all the contractors you have to hire to make it buildable. You might have to hire a drain field guy,
Right.
Same deal, he'll charge $5,000 too. And you say, well, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 10. Or you actually, if you could sell it for $500,000, you can say, I'll give you $50,000 if you'll wait until I sell it, because $50,000 is nothing if you make 500.
Right.
You can do a lot with this. You can do a real lot with this.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And there's so much more creative financing these days. And, people before would be like, what? And now a lot more people are open to it. So that is excellent.
Yeah.
All right.
And then also I want to mention too is like, and you should go to my site. It's called junklandintogold.com. And the program sells for right around 1,000. But if you put in the word REIGN, REIGN,
REIGN,
you get half off. So it's only, and it's really worth it because it's 2 books that, it's what I did is I put everything in my brain about real estate in those books, and then I did 50 videos. So this is, you do all this stuff, you'll be an expert.
Very
and
good.
The key to it, you don't have to do all 7 tricks. All you have to do is be good at one.
Yep.
If you just be good at one, like making lots perk. If you get just really good at making lots perk, that's all you have to do. You just find lots that fit that scenario. You don't have to do the other ones.
Very good.
Yeah.
Goodness, I could talk to you all day. All right. The second A in badass is for aspiration. I'm a big goal setter. So is there a goal well, and by the way, I had a coughing fit while you were talking. So in case that was picking up on the mic, sorry about that. But do you have a goal you are currently working on, Wayne?
Yes, I do have a goal. I have 2 goals.
Yes. Okay.
I have 2 goals. Once I turned 80, I realized I'm going to die soon. Okay. So what am I going to do the rest of my life? Okay. So I decided to give as much of my knowledge that I have to as many people as I can give it to. And I have 2 directions I went in. One is to teach people how to make money in the junk land and the gold. But the other way I want to teach people how to be happier in their lives, because I know so much about life. I mean, I really know a lot, and I know how to change people's minds from being unhappy to happy. So I'm putting about half my energy into 2 things. One's called achieveloveenergy.com.
Wow.
achieveloveenergy.com. And it teaches people how to get into love energy every day, every morning when you first start your day. Okay. And that's important because a lot of times we're in a negative space during the day and you're not happy. And the other one I do is called The Future Was Perfect. And that's thefuturewasperfect.com. And the reason I say the future was perfect, because right now we're being inundated with fear by mainstream news and all that stuff. And this teaches people how to get out of fear. And it's instant. It's not you have to sit there and work for an hour. It's a 1-minute thing. Both of them take 1 minute.
Wow.
They're 1-minute meditations. And so I spend a lot of time pushing those, and those are free to everybody. There's no charge or anything. That's my gift to the universe, is to try and make people happier and mentally more healthy. So that's where I'm going.
As someone who meditates daily, I am a big believer in it. And so thank you for doing those. All right. We are getting close here. The first S in badass is for systems. What systems do you have in place to help you achieve success?
It's so simple. I just wait for the tax sale to come.
There you go.
And I look, and I get my gold pen out, and I put all the gravel in there, and I just go pick them out one at a time and look at it and say, is this the right one? No. I pick out until, this is the one,
Very good. I love it. All right. Well, I could talk to you all day, Wayne, but the final S in badass is for success. What does success mean to Wayne Seminoff?
Yeah, being able to pay your bills without pain.
Ooh, that is fantastic.
Being able to pay all your bills without any pain.
Very good.
That's because that's when you know you've crossed the line.
Absolutely. Well, This has been such a fun interview. And for the listeners, one more time, it is junklandintogold.com. And you want to use the word REIGN, REIGN, and you will get half off of that program. So definitely check it out. And the 2 meditation ones, what are those websites
again?
It's
achieveloveenergy.com. And the other one is thefuturewasperfect.com.
Love it. Well, Wayne, it was such a pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Well, thank you. It's been a delight. You're a wonderful person to interact with. You have such wonderful energy. I love it.
Well, I appreciate it. And that is all. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Now go out there and share your badassery. And don't forget, make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Whoop, whoop.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. If you need more badassery, you can follow Jen Josey by visiting therealjenjosey.com or become a member of RAIN by registering on rainmastermind.com.